at the Real Paperback Geeks is Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Dragon Ball for a second.
Nah, dude, this will be. It still never is not gonna get mentioned because it just did.
I
But
mean, it's gonna be a running gag. I'm never gonna let it down. Just like how us introducing ourselves and kind of like making sure that we're all in the wrong spots in everyone's Discord.
I feel like that only works when it's all of us.
I
But,
would.
Jujutsu Kaisen Movie Zero actually released a trailer, like a real trailer.
Looking not looking at like the trailer itself, I did notice there's actually a second trailer that dropped too.
Like a real second trailer, or like just
I mean, you know how YouTube is and like everything else coming up, popping up, and as far as like actual official trailers are concerned and stuff like that. It says number 2, but I really don't know.
you know what it could be though too, because technically they released that like it was an official teaser or trailer that released not that long ago. That was like the little shots of Yuta basically.
Yeah, okay. That makes a little bit more sense then.
But yeah, this one's apparently heat. I've been seeing some screenshots of Gojo. It's always fucking Gojo on Instagram. But it hit me. I was like, wait a minute, that's not from the show. And I was like, that doesn't look like it's fan made either. So I went to the comments and it was like, oh yeah, the new trailer. I'm like, what? New trailer?
When? Where?
Yeah.
Why wasn't I alerted? Who didn't say? Who didn't alert me?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Easily my like favorite thing in just in general right now is probably Jujutsu Kaisen and Dune.
Dune, I have not actually watched it. Heard it was a good movie though. But Jujutsu Kaisen just honestly, it fills the gap of the big three at one point or another. Like it has that feel good. It has that kind of ramp up into like learning new techniques. And honestly, they do it very quickly too, as far as like the pacing is concerned. A lot of big fights end up happening. A lot of people do end up seeming like they're gonna die, or at least they have those moments where they're very close to death, and they end up changing one way or another. But it's still going strong, honestly.
I'm gonna say without any spoilers, because I know like I'm the only person that has actually caught up with the manga here, and there's a lot of people that haven't caught up. That if you do watch this, I'm not gonna spoil anything. All I'm gonna say is the Shibuya arc feels like it's the final arc of like any other show.
Really?
There's so much that happens. As I was reading it, I was like, I don't know how on earth he thinks he's gonna top this. But that's also what I felt like with the Elf Reincarnation arc from Black Clover, because it was essentially the fourth Great Ninja War arc from Naruto, but like better.
Okay, that's putting a little extra on there. You cannot disrespect them dead ninjas like that.
Well, it's like I genuinely like the fourth Great Ninja War. I do agree that it's like kind of drawn out and stuff, and Madara probably should have been the final villain.
I mean,
but
you got a point.
Did you ever watch have you watched that arc from Black Clover?
The reincarnation.
Yeah.
It's when they end up finding out that whatchamacallit, what's his face from the Golden Dawn is actually inhabited one of the leader of the Third Eye, was it?
So yeah. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't watched it. Basically, this is gonna be my hard sell for anybody that's on the border for Black Clover. Yeah, the leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun is an elf and is inhabiting like is sharing the body with William, the leader of the Golden Dawn. And when that reveal happens, you think that they're like the main villain for the whole arc basically, but they end up tying like everything together, like from episode 1 with the intro and everything, you know, the Wizard Kings, like the Great Demon and everything. You know, they do the whole reveal where the first Wizard King is actually alive, and that the whole person behind the everything that's been happening in the series up until this point is due to a devil existing and just manipulating everything. In the same way that Black Zetsu, you know, oh, I've been manipulating everything, bring out Kaguya, you know, except Kaguya, it was a devil. And, you know, you get your two main rivals that end up getting the crazy power-ups, and then, like, your old guard, like, god level characters like Hashirama, and then, like, you know, everybody like that showing up at the end.
That's the thing, though. It's just like even though like the first Wizard King was there, it's just like the other like the captains that were there, all of the other like black the Black Bulls that were there that ended up getting power up. Like you end up learning a lot about the rest of the Black Bulls that are there.
Oh,
just,
yeah.
Like with like Charmy, who ends up having like another side of her that gets revealed during this time. Like, bro, like come on, like. You're gonna go ahead and review all this information, and then you're gonna go ahead and say, "All right, this is the end of this arc," and then you end up starting a new arc. Like it ends up just like putting you at such a high point of like excitement for what's coming up next, and then it comes up with fillers and fillers and fillers. But I mean,
it's like it's filler and training arc, and then like the Spade Kingdom.
Yeah, but I mean, it does do a really good lead into the Spade Kingdom, especially with how they ended up leading off. Where I ended up leading off is like. They end up showing Asta going through like devil training.
Yeah.
As far as that and kind of getting to know, you actually end up finding out a little bit more of Asta's backstory and a couple big like bomb drops about fucking
his devil.
His devil, and also Yuno's backstory as well with the Spade Kingdom.
Which we won't dig into that because that's like way too new.
Yeah, I don't want to like ruin anyone's kind of days with going through all that, but like as far as like relations are concerned, like although Yuno and Asta can be as like furthest as like brothers as they can say they are, but I feel like towards the end they're gonna be tying a knot that was not expected or like at least like thought upon.
For sure, I think so.
But has to end up continuing with whatchamacallit, Black Clover, because from rumors that I've been hearing around is that they're actually just cutting the animation entirely.
So there's that rumor, and then there's the rumor that the movie that they're gonna release is gonna be like their bridge into doing the anime like seasonal version, like more like how My Hero has been seasonal, where like they do a season, take a break, do a season.
And honestly, that's a kind of good idea. Just because with My Hero that's going on right now, there's still hype around My Hero, like without a doubt. And like with the breaks that they end up doing, I feel like the animation, the voice actors, and not only that, the story itself does have time to kind of breathe and progress as far as like kind of checking to see what other series have been doing, or at least new series that are trying to like break out of the scene and stuff like that. Kind of like new ideas that are being bounced around between them. Because honestly, like. Not to joke on the whole isekai kind of genre, but like isekais are kind of a little played out, but there's some here and there that do end up kind of like shining through sometimes.
Yeah, Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation.
Jobless Reincarnation.
Just started watching that. I finished the first season. It's great.
Second season, literally just running around the corner, and like still new episodes coming out. Not too often, but honestly, like at a good pace where you're able to kind of keep up and kind of like not theorize, but kind of like predict on what's going to be happening next. Although like sometimes the predictions are just kind of out of the park sometimes.
Oh yeah, and you know, as you guys can tell, from the Elden Ring stuff to now, we love our fantasy series when they're great, and I think that kind of says something. For the fact that like we love probably Jujutsu Kaisen the most out of all the new gen shonen, and it's not like a swords and sorcery.
Bro, but it's a yokai fucking spirit kind of thing. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Though. Like,
and they still have some swords and sorcery stuff because of Maki.
I mean, yeah, but even then, it's still a little bit more of a tie-in to kind of like Demon Hunters, Ghost Hunters, and stuff like that. That like, I mean,
it just works.
Yeah, come on, like, come on. How are you gonna have a whole ass spirit based on like fucking Earth spirit? Like the inhabitants of like not Earth, but like the plant life and everything else that comes around. That fight was just that fight was just something else. Oof.
Dude, yeah. Right before we play the trailer right now, Chainsaw Man's gonna blow up because of Jujutsu Kaisen being so big.
Dude, I'm just waiting on the animation to drop. Everyone's hyping that show up way too much, and I'm just like, this show better live up to the hype.
I'm gonna tell you right now, as somebody that ended up binging like 90 chapters in the manga to catch up to the last like 4 chapter releases, it's gonna be great.
See, I want it to be great, but the thing is just that my version of great and the great that like everyone else has sometimes doesn't kind of line up sometimes.
I've just told people, if you like Jujutsu Kaisen, just strap in, basically.
Okay, that's all I need to hear. Honestly, let's get into this fucking trailer.
Hell yeah, dude. I'm actually really excited for them to adapt this prequel.
Because, yeah, you mentioned that this was going to be a prequel, kind of talking about Gojo and a couple of, like, the other teachers and adults, and kind of, like, what's going on. Hey, whoa.
Yeah, yeah, Getzo gets his backstory, because this is during the time when they're still, partnered up, technically.
Wait, he was a sorcerer?
Yeah.
I mean, it would make sense, like, why he would know all of this information, like, how to, like, kind of communicate with the spirits themselves, like, in a specific way for them to trust him.
Yeah, and essentially, so, I don't remember what it was, if, like, Yuta was the writer's original, like, idea for the main character, or if he was supposed to be, like, if he was always intended to be, like, a parallel. But if you go back and watch the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen,
yeah,
Yuta gets mentioned a few times, and I think Gojo specifically mentions that like Yuji reminds him of Yuta at a certain point.
I think I do remember. I do remember Gojo talking. I mentioned Yuta's names once.
Oh my god. Oh, y'all can't be spoiling shit like that.
Wow. What kind of... Oh my gosh.
Dude,
Bro.
This movie's gonna... Okay. I loved Mugen Train. But that tells me... That trailer tells me that this movie is going to probably blow Heroes Rising and Mugen Train out of the water, and the Fate, and honestly probably Heaven's Feel for me when it comes to the hype. Dude, that is gonna be insane.
Bro, like, dude, the animation for it on its own, just honestly really fluid, kind of fucking, very similar to how fucking, I mean, not to bring Dragon Ball Z back into it, but like a Broly's movie. Like, the animation in that movie was just so fucking fluid when it came into the fighting scenes.
Oh yeah.
And, like, everything else. And honestly, that actually reminded me a lot of that movie's art style and stuff like that.
It reminded me a lot of the Heaven's Feel movies too. Just super vibrant, hard lines, and just
smooth transitions just all around as far as that. And then like with the ideas that you're mentioning out there with Yuta being the original main character, I really wouldn't doubt that's what they were going with, like with this prequel movie, just because of the fact that like if Yuta's name is being mentioned so many times in the series itself, and there's no like not mentioned, but there aren't any kind of scenes specifically to show Yuta like what he's about and stuff like that. Like this is a good introduction, and especially since you mentioned like he ends up being brought up more and more as the series just end up coming up, and then with Gojo kind of finally seeing main character, pink hair name, Yuji, like as far as like the similarities between them and comparing them as far as like grasping some of the powers, like almost not instantaneously, but at least getting a good grasp of like what the techniques are actually meant to do. Like this man literally learned Black Flash in like
just instinctively
3 seconds of seeing it. And like not even that, like I'm pretty sure he was able to teach his partners just Black Flash off the flat too. Just like being able to kind of like transition that ability of grasping what the technique at its base form is going to be, and being able to explain it properly to other people that are able to grasp the way that he talks, because he doesn't talk with the vocabulary to the point where he's like losing people. He like I wouldn't say dumbs it down, but he puts it in layman's terms to the point where anyone can just pick up the technique.
Yeah, and I'm trying so hard not to say anything since I've read like the prequel. But the level that of progression that like Yuji has, where all of a sudden at the end of the series he's facing off like toe to toe with special grades.
Well, that's the thing,
is though. Like Yuta is fucking bananas, dude. Like I didn't buy into the Yuta hype until I decided to, I was like, you know what, screw it, I love this series. I was like, I'm gonna go read it.
Dude, that's one ship you did not end up regretting buying the ticket for.
Yuta is fucking sick. And I'm really glad we got the prequel manga, and now we're gonna get the movie for it, because I feel like Yuji is a better foil character, like for a protagonist. And I like what he's decided to do with Yuta. I won't spoil what route they're going, but yeah, Yuta's fucking sick, dude. People are gonna lose their shit over him.
I mean, like, just from seeing it from the trailers itself, like, it looks like that he's doing more, not actual techniques to destroy spirits, but more or less kind of befriending the spirits itself. As far as like, it looked like he was taking a little bit of the power of like maybe a whole collection of like a legion type of spirit, or at least it's just a combination of spirits just coming together and like either granting him power or maybe just taking it for himself.
You're on the right track is all I'm gonna say. You're right on the right track with that whole thought process.
Well, I mean, just from the trailer on its own, like it does seem like he has like either some type of affinity for spirits, or for at least I wouldn't say malicious spirits. It would just be kind of being able to interact with them and just kind of being normal with them, instead of having like a lot of the reactions that normal people would have with spirits, as far as just like, oh, it's a ghost, let me just either get rid of it or just like run away from it because it's a monster or some shit like that. But nonetheless, like, if you're saying that if he's gonna be a foil character, as far as a foil character to Gojo or to Yuji?
He's kind of a foil for Yuji eventually.
Interesting.
I don't want to go it, but yeah, like when it comes out, the parallels will be like very obvious. And I would personally I would say go back and watch the first season again, because there's a lot of little details in like the dialogue that points to a lot of stuff that there's a lot of foreshadowing in the first season for things to come.
Dude, tell me about it. Like, when I was watching the series, like just the off a blind look, watching it from like week to week, some of the characters said some things that like didn't really put me off, but like gave me ideas of like, no, they're talking about another event. They're talking about something else that happened that we haven't seen yet. Because what was the blonde dude business guy who was...
Oh, Nanami?
Yeah, when Nanami was taking Yuji out for either some sort of missions here and there, or at least training, or when he was with Gojo training, like, Gojo and Nanami would say certain things, or not the chauffeur, but the support character,
Toto?
What's his name? Toto? The one where they were in the car when they were gonna go and talk to the other kid that ended up talking to the human spirit.
Oh, Junpei.
Yeah. Like that whole interaction when he was just like this is giving me like I forgot the exact quote, but he was saying like, this is giving me similar vibes to what happened then.
Oh, yeah.
And when
I know what you're talking about.
When he said that, it clicked to me. I'm like, oh yeah, all of these other characters have been talking about something else that ended up happening in the past. And I couldn't really cement it down if it was either a specific event or it was a specific person, because like they would talk vague about it, and I was just like, no, I'm missing something. And I actually thought about going back and rewatching the series again to kind of see what ended up, like, what did I miss, or like what little things in the background would end up giving me hints of like what they were talking about. But now that you're talking about that this being a prequel series, and then now that you mentioned that Yuta was something that ended up happening in the past, and when Gojo actually said his name, like that's when it actually ended up clicking. Like, oh, right. Okay, this is all referring to this mysterious person that we haven't seen yet.
Well, and also the I'm sure you probably got the sense from the trailer already, since they showed like Maki, Panda, and I can never remember his name, but the one that has like the cursed voice.
Yeah.
When Gojo brings Yuji in and they say like, oh, we have X amount of students. When he mentions I think they're the second years, is Maki and their group. They do say that there's a fourth one that's not there.
Yeah.
And Panda even mentions Yuta by name. I think it was Panda also mentions Yuta by name at a couple points.
I think it was during the festival, right? The special games between the two schools before they ended up actually doing the event. Like how they were prepping, it's just like, yeah, there would be another person here, but like, yeah, they're all doing something else.
And it was like there'd be a big swing in the in the power dynamic between the two schools if Yuta was actually there. And Toto mentions an event. Well, actually, I think Megumi mentions the event that Toto was a part of, where he exercised like a bunch of curses, as you know, at the level that he's at right now with his bare hands, essentially. And yes, lots of foreshadowing, like all throughout that series.
Wow, that's actually really honestly exciting to actually kind of see it come into fruition, especially from just the first season on its own of Jujutsu Kaisen being as good as it is.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm of the mindset that like being able to top that, like just be off of a first season, like nonetheless, is gonna be a little difficult. But just seeing just how the prequel movie is gonna be, and then if like they're hitting the second season with this same kind of aspect, or at least with this kind of mindset of prepping people for the next thing that's coming up, while showing something interesting, like not even interesting, just like bold, amazing, just coming out of the screen itself.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be one hell of a ride.
Jujutsu Kaisen's it's already big, but I think it's gonna completely like blow up. Maybe not to the like insane out of the blue level that Demon Slayer did, but Jujutsu Kaisen with the movie coming out, and then when they animate the second season, that second season, if it's a 2-core season, so like 24, 25 episodes, they have a shot of being able to adapt the whole next 2 arcs. So the next 2 arcs are Hidden Inventory, which is a little bit more with like Gojo backstory, and then it goes like straight into the Shibuya arc. And I think they could do it because the Shibuya arc is a shitload of fighting.
So I mean, as much fighting as it was with how you referenced earlier, the Great Ninja War.
Like every chapter, something big was happening.
Damn.
Like there were literally multiple big fights that took place like over multiple chapters, or took up an entire chapter.
Damn.
So
it's a bunch of fucking fighting then. So then at this point it's kind of more of a kind of Bleach in the middle of like the Arrancar or like shit like that, where there's like multiple battles happening all at the same time.
It's they could do it for that reason, I think, because every time so far that they've adapted a fight from the manga, usually they've been able to adapt it really well in like, you know, at most a full like half an episode like or a full episode like when Gojo fought Jogo. Like I think that was a couple chapters, and they just did it in like the one episode.
Yeah, because I mean, like having to go through and like draw every single scene as far as like the different powers and going through. Honestly, it can be explained in a couple scenes as far as like the animation.
Yeah, they could if they really want to. No, I think they could probably pretty easily with like 25 or 26 episodes do these next two chunks. And if they do manage to do that, dude, it's gonna be wild.
Bro, they're just honestly super looking forward to this movie, especially just because since a lot of the movies, like a lot of the animated movies, are actually coming into theaters, and more people are actually gravitating to actually seeing them. Or actually, more and more people are not pushing, but like openly inviting other people. It's like, hey, just come give this shit a shot. And not only that, like this being a prequel, like leading up into like what's going right now into this series as like
you don't even have to know.
Exactly. Because like once you end up finishing this movie, you have more of an idea of what's gonna happen next when you watch the first season.
Yeah, and I think that's something I might end up doing. Which when the movie comes out, is I'll probably go back again and rewatch the first season.
Just to kind of get the little hints and like tidbits here that like in the foreshadowing or in the referencing that a lot of the characters did end up doing during that first season. No, yeah, that'd probably be a good like, all right, this is a callback to when this happened. Like, oh, okay, this is what they're referring to when they're referencing or they're comparing Yuji at this point with Yuta.
Yeah, man, it's ooh. I cannot wait.
Alrighty, so enough glossing over what's soon to be the next big anime movie that's going to be coming.